Hello everyone, welcome to English class. Today we will discuss some others important figure of speech or literary device because many of you have faced many more time how to identify which type of figure of speech they are. You know some of them like simile, metaphor, personification, alliteration. Okay, so apart from them, we will discuss today some other types, other names of literary device or figure of speech. So let's start from irony. So what is irony first? We know. What is irony actually? The very opposite of what is stated is intended. The very opposite. Okay. What? Actually I am writing here what is irony? The very opposite of what is intended or stated. Now mind it, the very opposite here, this term. Irony means what the speaker used to tell, what the speaker is speaking, the very opposite it meant or it means. Okay, so example we are going, just like the operation was successful though the patient died. Example, the operation was successful though the patient died. Now you can see it is an example of irony. Irony means you know what is told just opposite it means. The operation was successful though the patient died. Actually here the word successful means you know actually unsuccessful. Actually, what is the meaning of successful word? The operation was actually unsuccessful. That's why the patient died. Okay. So it is the meaning. The operation was successful, though the patient died. It is told by the speaker. Suppose the doctor told. But what actually he wants to mean? He means that the operation was unsuccessful. But in spite of telling here, he is telling in a roundabout way. Now that's why it is irony. The very opposite of what is stated. What? Very opposite of what is intended or what is stated. Okay, another example I am giving. It is one. You are so intelligent, that's why you failed in exam. Now just look at these examples. You are so intelligent, that's why or that is why you fail in exam. So actually the speaker wants to mean that he is not an intelligent guy or intelligent boy or girl. He or she is a dull one. Okay, he is no more intelligent. He is a dull one. That's why he failed in exam. But he told in an ironical way. Okay, so what is told, what is stated, just opposite it means. That's why it is irony. I hope it is understood now. Okay, now next example. Next example, not next figure of speech we are moving. What is it? My dear, all these are used where you know in the poems. Maximum time in the poems, even some of the literary prose also. So you should know about all this. First one, next one is transferred epithet. Okay. Transfer, Transferred epithet. So transferred epithet. What is transferred epithet? My dear, epithet means actually adjective. Okay. So it is a figure of speech in which I am writing here. It's a figure of speech in which an epithet. Now an epithet means an adjective. Okay. In which an epithet. Just a minute. In which an epithet is transferred to, suppose transferred from the object, from the object to which it is properly associated or properly intimated, you may tell. Okay, properly belongs. Okay, to another object with which it is mentally associated. Now it's a long one. Try to understand. Figure of speech in which an epithet, that means an adjective, is transferred. So transferred epithet means an adjective is transferred from the object to which it properly belongs. That means one object or one person with which that adjective is properly belongs. But that adjective is not placed beside him or her or beside the object. It will transfer to some another object with which it is mentally associated. Now I am giving one example. Suppose he late all night on a sleepless pillow. Now you can see here, sleepless, the word sleepless actually it is an adjective, or we may call epithet. Now he laid all night on a sleepless pillow. Look at the word adjective sleepless. Okay, that sleepless, the word actually belongs with the person he, the person. The sleepless, it is the adjective form and it applies, it indicates. What is the adjective? To whom it indicates? He, the person. He was sleepless. He was sleepless. But that adjective is transferred from him to pillow, another object. It is object 2. And here it is another object, that is first. It is first object. It is second object. That adjective actually it belongs to him, but it is not placed beside him. It is placed beside second object with which it is mentally associated. There is no other connection, but still it is placed. It is transferred. That adjective is transferred from him to pillow. He laid all night on a sleepless pillow. That's why it is called transferred epithet. Okay, transferred adjective. The adjective which is belong to some other person or thing, but with it is not placed. It is placed with another, with which it is mentally associated. That's what is called transferred epithet. Another example we are going for. Suppose he spent a happy day. Again, suppose he spent a happy day. Again, look at this example here. Happy. He spent a happy day. Happy. He was happy. He was happy. It is also adjective. He was happy. So that who was happy? He. Actually, he. Happy, the word properly belongs to him. But no, here it is not placed beside him. It is placed beside the day, another object, object number 2. And with that object it is mentally associated. And that's why it is called, this example is called transferred epithet. He spent a happy day. Okay? I hope transferred epithet is clear now. Next. Next example, suppose we are going to next example. What is it? Next example, pan or paronomasia. Pan or paronomasia. What is pan or paronomasia? Just think. Duplicity of sense is expressed through the unity of sound. So, figure of speech in which I am writing a figure of speech in which, or I am writing in complete way so that you can easily understand. It is a literary device in which duplicity of sense is expressed through the unity of sound. Now look at these examples here. What? Duplicity of sense and unity of sound. That is called pan or paronomasia. Okay, paronomasia. Pan in short. Now, what is duplicity of sense and unity of sound? For that one example I should pick up. Just like first one, every fair from fair sometimes decay. First example, every fair from fair sometimes decay. From Shakespeare's one poem I have written. Now look at this word, fair from fair. Fair from fair, you know it is unity of sound. Unity of sound. Obviously you can see here the same sound, fair and fair. But the case is that both the fair will not show the same meaning. They are having some different meaning. That's what is written. Duplicity of sense. Their sense is different. Here first one, every fair, it shows it is adjective. Here the fair word indicates it is adjective. Every fair. From fair it shows it is noun. It stands for noun. So both are having different sense. Different sense. Even if they are having some unity of sound. Fair, unity of sound, but their meaning will be different. Their sense will be different. They are having double sense. That's what is called duplicity of sense. So it is a figure of speech in which duplicity of sense is expressed through the unity of sound. That's what is called pun or paronomasia. So what is the meaning of it? Here, every fair, fair means you know here it is beauty. Every beauty from what? That beautiful object. Here the noun means beautiful object or person. So first fair means beauty, next fair means beautiful object or person. So every beauty from every beautiful object sometimes decay means what? Destroy. Nothing will be permanent in this world. All we are doomed to death. Okay. So now that's why it is called duplicity of sense is expressed through the unity of sound. Another example we are going. Second example, suppose what? So is the will of a living daughter curbed by the will of a dead father. So is the will of a living daughter curbed by the will of dead father. Now here you can see will and will. As you know, it is the unity of sound. So is the will of a living daughter curbed by the will of a dead father. Here will, first will, here it shows another sense. This will shows another sense, even if they are having some unity of sound, but they are having some different meaning. First will, here meaning is wish. So is the wish of a living daughter curbed by the will of a dead father. Here, what is the meaning of will? Will means here actually the legal paper. Will, you know, legal paper of a property. So it is the legal paper. So both are having duplicity of sense. Okay, even if they are having some unity of sound. So whenever you will get two words same in pronunciation, but their meaning will be different, then it is called pun or paronomasia. Okay. Next we are moving. Next example we are going, that is called, what you know, onomatopoeia. Okay, onomatopoeia. Now pronunciation onomatopoeia, but spelling will be onomatopoeia. That is E-I-A. Onomatopoeia. What is onomatopoeia? You know, it is a figure of speech in which words evoke. What evoke? The actual sound of a thing. Figure of speech in which words evoke the actual sound of a thing or of a thing. They refer to or state. Is it so? Or describe. You can see in which the words evoke the actual sound. Mind it is related to the sound of a thing, sound of a person, sound of a living character. So whenever you will get any other sound like things, sound words in a sentence of a poem, it is called onomatopoeia. Any other sound, clattering sound, clapping sound, howling sound, growling sound, you know, all these are having a sound related word. Whenever you will get in a poem's line, then it is called onomatopoeia. Okay. So some of the word will describe some of the sound of a thing or a person or a character or a living being, then it is called onomatopoeia. Example we are taking, suppose first one, the flag flapped in wind. The flag flapped in wind. Have you seen any other sound referring word? Flapped. That flap shows what? That flapping sound of a flag. So here onomatopoeia, the figure of speech, has been used. Another example. Someone is knocking at the door. Someone is knocking at the door or on the door. Here you can see knocking. Knocking the word, it shows a sound. Have you got? So now someone is knocking at the door. That sound, here that word describes sound. Okay. So whenever you will get any other sound related word, that is called onomatopoeia. Class 9 students, you know that every dropping sounds of the rain, okay, or every tinkling sound of rain fell on the shingles of the roof, shingles of the house. You have got one point, the rain. You know, here every tinkling sound of rain, what fell on the shingles. So tinkling, the word refers to what? Onomatopoeia, the sound of words. Next, the last one we are going to describe. That is another important one. Okay, we are describing. That is what? That is anaphora. What is anaphora? Many more time you will get question. Whenever the same expression is repeated at the beginning of several successive clauses, when the same expression is repeated, at the beginning of several successive sentences or clauses. Okay, is called anaphora. Just a minute. Now, what is anaphora? You can see when the same expression is repeated at the beginning of several successive sentences or clauses is called anaphora. Now, example if I give, then it will be clear to you. Dares not to make reply. Dares not to make reply. Dares not to reason why. Dares but to do and die. From Tennyson, Alfred Lord Tennyson's one poem I have taken that example. What is it? Here you can see dares, the same word, the same expression is repeated at the beginning of several successive sentences. You can see number one sentence, second and third. It is a poem's line. You can see first sentence dares, it starts with dares. Second sentence dares, third sentence dares. So when the same expression, same word will be repeated at the beginning of several successive sentences. Successive means one after another. All sentences, the same word or same phrase will be repeated. Then it is called, anaphora. Like another example I am taking. What I had. Okay. What I spent, I had. What I kept, I lost. What I gave, I have. So each and every sentence I have used in the beginning what. So what I spent, I had. What I kept, I lost. What I gave, I have. So in each and every sentences in the beginning what the word is there, same expression. That shows what that is called anaphora. Whenever that kind of example we will get in a poem, which figure of speech is used, that is called anaphora. Okay, these are the important figure of speech for class 9 and 10. Please try to understand. Thank you. Have a good day.